Poppy Playtime just announced they were going to be releasing a brand new game that includes a lot of new information and even a few secrets that nobody was expecting, along with Playtime Co sending me a letter to my house with even more information you need to see, and we'll be discussing what all this means for the long-awaited third chapter. So if you didn't know, the Poppy Playtime developers have been teasing something extra special dropping here this Halloween. First in the Poppy Playtime anniversary celebration where they gave us the date of October 31st, and also in the past week, the security cams that were originally designed to tease for chapter 2 back in May would suddenly stop working with no explanation, with the site itself even entirely going down. And we all thought it was going to be relating to the long-awaited third chapter of the Poppy Playtime, which it still might in some way. However, to the surprise of everyone, Poppy Playtime would announce at 9 a.m. today that a full-blown brand new game was going to be releasing by the name of Project Playtime. The announcement tweet Mob Games sent out reads, "Can you see this? Give us a sign. We are thrilled to announce our next game, Project Playtime, is coming to Steam this December. Project Playtime is a free-to-play co-op experience where you and your friends must try to survive the unspeakable horrors that lay waiting deep within the Playtime Co factory. We're incredibly excited for everyone to see what our team has poured their hearts and soul into creating over the last 6 months. Until then, it's up to you to unravel the mystery behind Project Playtime." So Poppy Playtime is releasing a brand new game. That's some amazing news. However, of course, in Poppy Playtime fashion, with this announcement were a bunch of different secrets. And if we actually brighten the image in the very middle, we see an IP address that reads 159.223.135.6. So what exactly does this IP mean? Well, clearly it's the start of some sort of ARG, and I'll discuss it more in a minute. But this IP is actually incredibly familiar to me because the other day I was sent a piece of paper from Playtime Co themselves. This was incredibly weird to find, but upon opening the paper, I saw a fearful letter written over an employee confidentiality agreement from the factory dated on July 15th of 1991 that reads, "Hello mama, I miss you so much. It's been so long since we've talked, and now more than ever I wish we'd speak more. I have some news you won't like to hear. I'm going away for a very long time and I may never see you again. I don't want to do this to you and I know how badly this will break your heart, but I don't have a choice. Something awful has happened. I want to tell you about it, but I can't. They have eyes and ears everywhere. For your own safety, do not come looking for me. Stay away from the factory. They can't know what you know. If they get to you, everything I've done will have been for nothing. I need you to get on my computer. Use this with the exact IP address used here. I had to bury everything. It might seem like it's not there, but it is. I know you can find it. Look deep. You're going to see things that will scare you, but you have to look. There are lives at risk. People will die. As soon as possible, take everything you find and go to the police. This needs to end. I love you and I hope you can forgive me." So wow, what a massive piece of information to be leaked so randomly to me of all people. But what does all this mean? Well, the first thing I wanted to find out is who wrote this and why. I tried to look across the many other notes hidden inside of chapter 2, and the only other red inked letter here clearly has different handwriting, as in this letter the writer capitalizes specifically every single letter F, while the letter in the game uses the more proper cursive lowercase writing form. So then who could this be? Well, we can see that the letter is meant to be written to a mama. Now, some might be quick to relate this to Mommy Longlegs, and I'll talk about her later, but realistically, nobody has ever referred to Mommy Longlegs as mama, and also clearly this is meant to be sent out of the factory. So instead of Mommy Longlegs, it's pretty clear that whoever is writing this is some sort of child writing this to their mother asking for help. But speaking of mothers, another important detail to point out about this letter is the date it was written on, July 15th, 1991. Now, upon looking, I couldn't find anything important that happened on July 15th. However, the important part is the year of 1991, because that is very specifically the same exact year that the character Mommy Longlegs would actually be created. So why does this matter? Well, if you look at some of the documents in chapter 2, the person who was eventually created into Mommy Longlegs would be a character by the name of Mary Payne. And while we don't hear much about this character, she's actually the only human being we know by name in the game who was eventually turned into a toy. And so my theory is that the person who wrote this was none other than Mary Payne herself. And the reason Mommy Longlegs was created in 1991 was because they began experimentation on Mary Payne, eventually turning her into the chapter 2 main antagonist herself. However, that's not to say she didn't try to retaliate, because in this letter, assuming this is her, we could see she knew what was going to be happening to her, saying that she didn't know if she would ever see her mother again, showing that she was not only scared but also knew of the dark intentions of Playtime Co. and was somehow trying to get this message out to the public. This would also explain why different documents in Chapter 2 say that Mommy Longlegs was very hostile towards the other employees, while was very caring to other experiments, because she must have had an underlying hatred towards the employees who made her like that, while also feeling sympathy for the other people who've been experimented on. In fact, this letter also reveals that Mary, or whoever wrote it, was constantly being surveilled, which was something sort of a given based on the security cams we used to be able to access in Chapter 2, but it's confirmed in this letter. But anyway, what was the actual point of this letter being sent? Well, we can see that in the letter, we are given an IP address of 159.223.135.6, and are told to use this to access their computer that was supposedly hold some information. So this must be some sort of ARG or puzzle we are supposed to figure out clearly. But the thing is, I think everybody is searching for the wrong stuff here. If you were curious, the IP address reveals this general broad location, which people are theorizing could be some sort of real-life ARG, which we know doesn't really work out well in this community. However, based on the letter specifically received, the person who wrote the letter was telling us to get onto their computer. So this must mean that this IP address is instead being used to access a computer somehow within the game that will hopefully give us some clues as to what this new game is, and maybe even some Chapter 3 info as well. What's also interesting about this new teaser is that when brightened up, as mentioned, it shows us an IP address, but it also shows us the same Jack-in-the-Box image that we have been theorizing about for multiple videos now. But based on this, we can assume that for whatever reason, this isn't for Chapter 3, but rather is for this brand new game, which honestly sounds incredibly exciting in my opinion. I know this game has been a bit controversial right out of the gate, just like everything Playtime Co related, because with this, it's sort of been proven that Chapter 3 hasn't really been worked on at all in all this time. But despite this, I actually really support this route because we haven't really gotten much this year in terms of games, and so it's going to be super nice to see what the developers have been working on all this time. Plus, the location this teaser is in seems to be completely new, and assuming this new co-op game is canon, which it most likely is, there will be tons of new lore to come out with the title as well. But putting this game aside, what does this all mean for Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime, the thing we've all been waiting for at this point? Well, unfortunately, it probably means that Chapter 3 is going to be delayed at least a little bit, and although they give us a broad estimate of 2023 for Chapter 3's release date, we could probably expect it more or less around the middle or end half of that year, just because they're working on an entirely brand new game and probably need to maintain that as well. Is it a little disappointing from a Chapter 3 perspective? Maybe a little bit. However, I'm still incredibly excited to not only play this brand new game, but also figure out what in the world that IP address I just mentioned led to, because whenever we do finally figure out what all those different numbers actually mean, we're probably going to get a lot of information about the lore of the game and maybe even future titles like Chapter 3. Maybe that's a bit optimistic, but if you guys have any clues on what this ARG could possibly mean, let me know on Twitter, where I'll also keep giving updates to every piece of the puzzle that's solved. Anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts on this huge piece of information just randomly dropped. Subscribe and peace.